Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode of As the Coffee Brews, coming at you live from The Roost, a co-working space in downtown Port Huron, Michigan. And what a lovely day we've ordered for you. It is sunny as can be and feels just the dead of summerish kind of weather out there today. We hope you're off to a great start. We assume that most of you started your day on a competing
Competing.
I was going to get some drama going here. We hope that you started your day watching EBW's live and local show, which is a new offering from our friends over at EBW. And let me tell you, what a good segue that will be to dive right into talk with our special guest, but not before introducing you, as always, or as mostly, Nancy Gardner.
Good morning, Nancy Gardner from Bold Education Connections that provides oversight to East Shore Leadership Academy, which is a K-8 charter school in Port Huron, a couple blocks away.
Nancy has been one of our longtime co-working members here at The Roost and can be found most days here with a cheerful smile, pleasant conversation, and high fives.
High fives.
Okay. Thanks as always for co-hosting with me. We are ready for some hard-hitting questions, deeply personal conversations.
Ooh.
Did we prep her for that?
I don't think so, but it's all good.
Let's start now while she's taking a drink.
A really off-the-wall question.
Yeah, exactly. Karley, welcome to As the Coffee Brews.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The timing of your reappearance on the show couldn't be any crazier. Nancy, are you ready for this?
Absolutely.
I did some research, folks, on Karley's first appearance, which was 365 days ago. Here in this room on a different table, of course.
Yes.
But that's I don't know, coincidence? Is it divine intervention?
Somebody
caused,
needs to hear from us.
There you go.
Well, hopefully it's the people that might be tuning in here. Hey, listen, guys, if you are joining us live or after the fact and have a question, a comment, want to dive into the conversation, certainly just feel free to type your comments in and we'll try to field them either live or after the show. Karley, what is new in your world besides EBW? Before we dive into that.
Besides EBW, well, since last year, I've moved into a home. We remodeled a fixer-upper, and we got a puppy, and just kind of enjoying life in the Blue Water area. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have the pleasure of being married to my pal Sean Hurley. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And
I celebrated our second anniversary this week.
Oh, congrats. Awesome.
You might as well stick it out now.
Yeah.
Yep. In it for the long run.
Yep. 2 years might as well be 2 decades. Take it from me. Before you know it will be. Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. Well, let's dive in here. At EBW, you wear a lot of hats like any other small business does, right? So your official title would be?
Station manager.
Station manager. So I, like Nancy, I'm sure, and anybody watching is wondering what does a station manager do?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that varies depending on where you're at, but at EBW for me, it's a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Before we made this transition, it was kind of overseeing the strategic planning and working with our advertisers and just kind of more overall day-to-day business things. But now moving into live and local, kind of developing that whole show. I now get to co-anchor that, so that's fun, being back on air a little bit more. And yeah, just kind of overseeing the overall strategic.
So what was why did you guys decide to take the leap from pre-recorded content to doing live? I mean, that's quite a commitment.
Yeah, well, live is where everybody's at, right? Everybody can be live at any time, and we're in an interesting time with the digital age of, newspapers, radio, TV, everyone's evolving, right? Even you see Fox News or NBC, they're all starting to put their shows on Facebook Live and that sort of thing. So we wanted to give our viewers options here at a local level. So, yeah.
So when you were searching for co-hosts, you must have assumed I was too busy.
You're doing a few things.
All right. And so since I wasn't available and you didn't ask, but you presumed, how did you come to find our pal Mike? I mean, what a great fit he's been.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
Yeah, so Mike has actually been involved with EBW for probably 2 years now. I don't know how it all kind of came about, but when we were doing pre-recorded segments, he would come in and read a few news stories a week, and so that's kind of how the relationship started. And then for some of you may know that he sold the funeral home back in November, and so just through conversations about where his career was going to take him next, and the timing of everything at EBW, it just kind of was the right mix of things. So
I just think he's been a great fit for it. He definitely has he looks the part, right?
He does. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. And since he's not here to defend himself, let's continue talking about it.
Might regret that later, yeah.
Yeah. So with the, the benefits of doing pre-recorded content means that you've got all sorts of leeway to screw up and fix things in post-production and everything turns out perfect before your audience gets to see it. Live shows don't have that luxury, right? So what have been the challenges? Because are we a month into the live and local show?
Actually, just 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, July 8th was our first. So the first thing that comes to mind, because it just happened yesterday, is since we're so new into it, we're trying to keep some consistency and haven't necessarily figured out alternatives. So this weekend I was kind of dealing with some, sinus issues, and we do a run through every morning at least, which helps. And I couldn't talk, and I was like, well, this is going to be interesting. Unfortunately, I think I kind of, worked through that, but, you never know what's going to happen.
Sooner or later, there will be an episode where one of you guys are sick, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And someone's going to fly solo.
Yes. Yeah, that, or, maybe that's where we call you up.
Oh,
boy. Some fill-in host.
I'm too shy, but maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah, so there's that, and then, obviously we're dealing with so much tech, right? TriCaster and computers, and sometimes Vimeo doesn't want to communicate with Facebook, and so you're 2 minutes out and something's not working, and so it's just no day is ever the same.
So continuing in sort of meet the team kind of mode here, right? So Mallory is kind of out on the person on the streets, right?
Yes, Mallory's been our news director for, gosh, I think almost 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years. And so, she's been our on-location face. Everyone knows her when she goes out into the community. And so we really wanted to keep that. She's really good at that. And we wanted to keep that momentum going. So she's, in live and local still, but is, still kind of maintaining and fulfilling her role. And then she's also behind the scenes too. So she helps kind of direct and interact with people on social media. So
just no post-production needed on a live show.
Not a whole lot. Just send it out to the internet.
Yeah, it's good. And so each of these episodes, although it's yourself and Mike are live, the cutaways to Mallory will be pre-recorded, right? Because sometimes it's early in the morning, yet she's out there in the obviously midday daylight, right? Yeah. And then the other cutaways are, to the spotlight. You've got Jeff Boehm on there and others, Jackie from the foundation and other, guest hosts that will do those sort of, what do you call it, cutaways or the spotlight?
Yeah, our spotlight segments. Okay. Yeah, we wanted to, even just yesterday, someone wrote to us that they didn't know about. Yesterday, we featured Homeland Security and Emergency Management, our youth program. So Spotlight gives more people an opportunity to learn about things that they might not know about in our community. So it's not necessarily those quick news stories, but a little bit more of an in-depth interview for people to talk about what's going on in the community.
A lot of my days, probably maybe all of my days are spent working with entrepreneurs and small business people. And one topic that's very common is, how do I get covered? How do I get the media to pay attention to me, right? Mm-hmm. And my answer is always short and maybe tough love, in that it helps to be interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, it does.
Yeah. So what, given your role and your experience, what makes an interesting story, either as news or as a spotlight or, in the context of small business?
Yeah, so it sounds kind of brutal, but what I always tell our team is what it comes down to is who cares, right?
Yeah.
That's what our audience is asking when we read those stories. So if you can, tie it to a big anniversary or something that no one's done before, or, really in news, you can make anything be a news story, right? It's just what's going to be interesting and who's going to care about it. So, finding that, I think everybody has an interesting angle. It's just capitalizing on that. So family recipes, human interest. But to me, it always comes down with when we're talking about what's going to be the news story for the day. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I like that because it's simple.
I'll tell you what, on a professionally done show, they wouldn't do anything like what I'm about to do. But we're on As the Coffee Brews, where we do whatever we damn well please. And right now, we're going to take a short yet live break to bring in our other special guest. Let's free ranch cheers.
Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Everyone, welcome.
Well, look who it is.
Oh, this is cool. All right. Are we on we're on the right side too. The correct side, I should say. Fantastic.
Can you see the teleprompter okay?
There is none.
Exactly.
Oh no.
This is called Truly Live.
Fantastic.
We take live to the level of no preparation.
I like it.
No teleprompter.
Okay.
No professionalism.
Okay.
And just have freewheeling conversation, which we've been enjoying so far with your co-host and counterpart, Karley, over here.
Yeah, she's great.
Were your ears ringing on the way here?
Well, they were a little bit. I turned the corner at Albert and I said, "What is that ringing in my ear?" And here I am.
See? That's what happens.
If you can't tell, what just happened was Mike arrived fashionably late for our show, something that can't happen at EBW.
Always has to be the center of attention.
Well, yeah, maybe a grand
I'm
entrance.
just
So
kidding.
no, this is fantastic.
Mike, I'm glad that you joined us. We've been talking a little bit about what EBW has been up to and kind of what led to going from pre-recorded content, which is still part of the game, right?
Sure.
To the live show. Maybe you could shed some light on how did you come into the EBW fold a couple of years ago and then kind of evolved into this role?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I worked with EBW for the past couple of years, actually. I came there daily. When I was working at the funeral home in my former life, I would come over for
funeral joke. I just got.
It is.
That's funny.
So I'd come over to the funeral from the funeral home to EBW TV, and I'd sit with them for half an hour and do the news stories. And it wouldn't take me long at all. We'd get them done. The stories would go out, and then I'd leave. So I was only there briefly, and it was hi and goodbye, and that was it. And it suddenly grew on me. Radio and TV is something I had gone to school for back in 1986,
You want to share that?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Oh my gosh.
Hang on, be careful.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So I went to originally school for that, and so it always been something that I had done, kind of on the side or dabbled in a little bit. So it was nice to be accepted at EBW TV to do this, and it grew into a full-time job here recently.
So you went to school for broadcasting, and then, like most people, decided not to use your degree and went into the funeral business.
That's correct. Yeah.
Obvious transition.
It seems like everybody does it. They go to get their degree in this, and they end up going somewhere else. So yeah, that's what I did.
Cool. So that got you involved with EBW. Now let's talk about this transition into live. What's been your perspective on reflecting on a long 2.5 weeks of live and local, right?
You talk about live, and the big thing for me was getting adjusted to the teleprompter, as we joked about earlier. I mean, that is a whole thing, and to make it sound like it's coming off the cuff. Now, some of our comments, and a lot of them are off the cuff, and they're fresh and new. But there is a guideline there that you have to follow, and so that's been a learning experience and one that I enjoy, especially with Karley and helping each other out through some of those spots in the script and working our way through it. So I really enjoy that.
So how you guys must feel fortunate to have. I was gonna say chemistry, but I don't mean it in a weird way. I mean, it does take some effort to be able to bounce off of each other, right? And so, maybe you could share with us, what is something that we don't get to see? You were mentioning earlier, you guys do a run through beforehand.
We do.
What would we see on a blooper reel?
It's a little dicey on the run through, I got to tell you.
I kind of like that
But
part.
when the camera comes on, I think you agree, it changes dramatically.
Yeah, it's good at 6:30 every day we start our run through. So we're in the office by 5:45, 6 o'clock, going through the script. I kind of talked to you. It's a little bit all consuming right now because we have a small team. So a lot of times we're writing the script at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and getting up into the office and running through the script, and then we sit down and do that run through. And there's some pauses there, like, okay, I shouldn't have wrote that. I was clearly tired when I wrote this. So
And you look at it and you go, and you make these faces. And it's like,
It
don't
must
do
have made
that.
sense last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Why did I write that for my co-host? Why did she write that for me?
Yeah.
It's a lot of
or
that.
the director in the back accidentally cuts to a commercial, or
Yeah.
unfortunately I don't think we've had that. There was one day where we started a little bit late and we kind of got off kilter, but I don't think anything too noticeable during our live show.
Do you,
so
you
far,
ever get
not
going
going.
where you just want to just say something totally off the wall?
Yeah, well, that's why they keep me on a script, especially. So they're like, no, you got to
I
stay
would have a hard
with
time
this.
with that.
If Mike starts going off on a tangent, all of a sudden the voiceover will take his place.
It's like we're still on the first few dates with our audience, right? You're real careful not
Yeah.
saying anything too,
Risque.
yeah, but I can't promise as we get further in and more comfortable that might not.
It's fun, and I'm learning a lot, and it's nice to be with everybody there and learn from them. So.
Hey guys, we're talking this morning with Karley Hurley and Mike Smith, news anchors of Live and Local at EBW. I'm Matt, and joined, of course, by Nancy Gardner over at the Roost. Hey, by the way, hello to Sean Hurley. You know him, don't you?
Oh, I think so.
And Sue joined us, and Todd Carmody says, "Good morning, Karley."
Hi, Todd. faithful watcher.
Yeah, that's right.
follower.
He's a community champion and their cheerleader out there. So, Mike, I was asking Karley earlier. We do, here at the Roost, and in the work that I do almost every day is working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, right? And I asked Karley the question of, how do you get news coverage? How do you be interesting, right? A little bit different angle, with you is what makes for a good interview?
Oh, well, that's an excellent question. I guess somebody that's interesting comment or content, somebody that is interesting themselves, but you can in an interview situation, which I don't do a lot of, I've done a couple of times, you got to kind of draw it out of people a little bit and ask the right questions and let them expand on, because let's face it, I mean, we all know, maybe not me so much, but if you ask me about funeral service, I know tons about that, and people know more than they think they know about what they're doing, and they can get excited about what they're doing because they deep down love what they do. I think everybody does. I mean, you have to, or else you change it up.
Sure. What is next? What's the next thing? You were talking about even the large, news outlets there switching it up. Well, what do you see as the next evolution, right? You guys have a crystal ball into this industry, right?
She does, yeah.
What do you think's coming next?
I think it changes, it seems like on a weekly basis with Facebook and, all the things that are always developing. But I think, the direction that we're going in specifically for Live and Local is developing more of local sports and that sort of thing for our show. We know that's a pretty big thing that people want to know about. So obviously we'll develop the news section. And then I think once we purposely started in July, it's really the slowest time of year for news, but it was strategic to kind of get us off the ground, get people familiar with what we do, so that when school starts, that we're really there and ready to expand the sports section. But as far as EBW as a whole, I think you're going to see a lot more content. People are excited about this show, and so I think as we get more support for that, more viewers, we're going to develop more content. And I think hopefully the goal would be that, we'd eventually have something that people could turn on their Roku or, that's kind of our next step technologically is developing that in a way that people can turn it, they can stream or push to their smart TVs right now. We'll pretty soon have it available on YouTube, but having that constant stream of content that someone could just turn their smart TV on and watch. So
That's
Awesome.
exciting.
It is.
Wow.
Well, so as for, that was look at the future, but living in the now, how do people access and what if they have a news story of their own they'd like to recommend? How do they reach out to you guys and say, hey, let me tell you what's happening down in whatever town they're in?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's the email that we always give and the phone number to text it to us.
Yep.
Right?
So that email is news@epw.tv, or you can call or text us at 810-434-4175. So yeah, someone usually always has that phone. We try to respond pretty quickly, or same thing with our email. We're always, it's the best. I mean, Facebook, it seems like everyone, if there's something going on, they just get on there. So that's where we find a lot of what's going on. But yeah, if people want to call or text us, say, hey, what's going on with this? We can look into that quickly and update people.
And I'd imagine you guys are eager to have content or, ideas to be talking about, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Yes.
you're in the business of talking about things, so it's good to know what things are happening out there.
It'll be fun, I think, going forward to sort some of that out. And I think we'll eventually have too much, and we'll really have to be careful with what it is we want to put out there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It's kind of think about this. Sometimes it's a big responsibility that we have, and I think, we take that seriously and want to be good stewards of the information we're sharing and sharing that, informing our community. So
yeah, and I've learned a lot from Karley about different ways to write that information and scripting and everything else. And she's been a big help in making sure I write it the correct way. I mean, because you can't just say things that you like or your opinion. We're just merely reporting the news.
Yeah.
And we want to get information out in a correct way.
You guys are doing a great job. I'm a fan of the show with one exception. It is a tad early for my liking.
that's why I didn't want to end without saying that we're on demand too still, right? So
That helps me out.
yeah, so
big
we want to
time.
get the news
Absolutely.
out of the way first thing in the morning so that those early risers
Sure.
can start their day with it. But if you're, like I used to be, not getting it till a little later in the day.
Yeah, we're reaching the end of the day here.
Yeah, middle of our day
Wow.
right now. You can always go to our website or, watch the replay on Facebook. So
Well, we'll update the caption of the show here once we're done and plug in all those links so people have easy access to your guys' show as well. Thank you for being a part of the show and half of it for you.
Yeah, right. Thanks for having us.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks for all you do.
Hey, listen, guys, go out there and have a great rest of the week. Boat week is over now, so life in Port Huron goes back into its easygoing sort of lifestyle that we enjoy. Our tens of thousands of tourists have gone back to wherever they came from. And although probably this weekend, a lot of them will resurface in St. Clair for the offshore boat races there too.
Or those outhouse races at the Bologna Fest.
Oh, yeah, the outhouse races. That's a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah,
That is a big
Was that a
deal.
news story? too?
Yeah.
Oh,
So go out there and make it a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time on As the Coffee Brews.